Today I want to talk to you about what I have picked up on is probably one of the biggest components to a lot of you that are struggling. I don't know that I would say it's, a mass market issue. It's a mass market issue for a lot of you, and I wanted to share some thoughts on it. And that's the concept of the underlying resentment that's in the mind of the unfaithful. For the betrayed, I've found it to be that most betrayeds, and I say in trends, typically there's always the exception. So if you're the exception, be comfortable being the exception. But typically, when the betrayed is dealing with their anger and their resentment, they know it. They say to me all the time, man or female, male or female, yeah, I'm mad, I'm pissed, I'm angry, I know I'm bitter, I know I'm upset, yeah. So they're not just saying that, most of the time they're ready to own it too. The definition of resentment is indignation at being treated unfairly or wrongly. So the betrayed is kind of like, yeah, I'm angry, I'm mad, and I know it. Some of them are ready to take responsibility at the fact that that's a roadblock. Some of them are just kind of like, I'm pissed and everybody's going to know about it. And it's okay. It really is. For the unfaithful, though, it's a much different variable. And one of the best ways to explain it is to tell you a story. I was talking to a guy, and I'll call him Bob. And Bob, quite honestly, is the unfaithful, and he's giving me all this stuff. And having been where Bob is at, I'm able to kind of see through the fog and all of that. And I let him kind of go on. And finally, I was like, Bob, let me ask you something. And he said, sure. I said, but I need you to really be open to this. And I need you to really hear me as someone who's been where you're at. There's no judgment. There's no shame. It's just the truth. He said, okay, give it to me. And I said, all this stuff that you're talking about and all these things, do you think maybe you're just mad at your wife? Like, do you think that you're just angry and you have resentment towards, we'll call her Sheila. Do you think you just have resentment towards Sheila for your perceived rejecting of you and not finding you sexually appealing and maybe mothering you or treating you like a child? Do you think all the stuff that you're telling me, we can narrow it down to the fact that you're just hurt and you're full of resentment towards your wife, so it's complicating everything? And the phone went dead. And that happens to me sometimes when I'm on the phone with people, and I was pissed, and I said, damn it, I dropped another call. No, I didn't. He's bawling, and he says, no, you didn't. And I just froze like, oh, no. And he wept, and he said, you're absolutely right. He said, I'm just angry. Because, see, resentment is a killer, and it's very deceiving because resentment fuels the unfaithful's justification, which fuels their minimization, which fuels their self-deception. It is a dark, dark Bermuda Triangle-like trap. So you have to really understand resentment is kind of like that lighter fluid that you pour on a fire to make it roar, and that's what happens. Our resentment, and a lot of times, it's valid resentment for the fact that maybe we were rejected or mothered or whatever. That does not mean the affair was okay. But hear me, he has a right, Bob has a right to be angry and upset about the way he perceives he was treated. Bob does not have a right to use those things as an excuse for him cheating. He'll never be able to do that. It's just ridiculous. So what do? If you're a betrayed, I'd encourage you to do a couple things. One is, I would encourage you to respond in contrast, not like for like. If you come at him with, well, I'm angry too, and you want to know what I'm angry about? What about your affairs? And what about your sleeping around? Or what? Won't work, because you're responding like for like, and it'll probably be more fumes, more fire, more problems. I would encourage you, and this will take incredible work on your end, to respond in contrast and say something like, if I was Sheila, I would say to Bob, Bob, I know you're angry. I know you have a lot of unreconciled issues. And I know that you're upset about a few things, and I'm willing to talk about all of them. I really am. I'm willing to own everything I need to own. But not until we get expert help where we can begin to talk about the infidelity and talk about your frustrations and talk about my anger. We both need help. And if you'll commit to doing that in this place, I will absolutely own everything I need to own. I think if you respond in contrast, and if you find expert help in a safe place to do it, I think you'll deal with the self-deception, the minimization, the justification by hammering at the root of almost all of it, which is resentment.